Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting version of Chip Talks podcast. Today, we're going to talk about immunity. It's coming up on winter, so we're in early December right now of 2024. In case you're listening from the future, if you are, hi, future traveler, welcome back in time to December 6th, 2024. But at this time of year, usually we begin to think a lot about seasonal flus. We begin to think a lot about our immune system. We begin to think a lot about, are we going to get sick or not? And most people get sick during this time, which is really interesting. Now, when you ask why, that really has a lot to do with a lot of different things, but in particular the sun, because we get a lot of energy and let's say resonance from the sun that's very healthy. But that's kind of unproven yet. I mean, I certainly could write a peer-reviewed paper on it, but there isn't that underlying study to talk about, well, exposure to the sun is less in the winter and that weakens our immune system and that's why we get sick. But I'm working on that theory right now. So I'm working on that operating theory. But anyway, we need to really discuss, because it doesn't really matter summer and winter right now, what we're doing, our behavior so much weakens our immune system. So it makes us very vulnerable to pathogens. And what are pathogens? Well, pathogens are just bugs. They're bacterias, funguses, viruses, and parasites. So, like a tapeworm is a pathogen. H. pylori, which is a bacteria, is a pathogen. Epstein-Barr virus is a pathogen. So all of those four things are really classified as pathogens. So when I say pathogens, I'm talking about bacteria, funguses, viruses, and parasites. Okay. So the way that your immune system works, it's really cool. So first of all, every time you eat, you drop your shields. Let's talk about this. I need a kind of an analogy, like a frame of reference, a context to talk to you guys a little bit about kind of how this works. So I'm a Trekkie. I'm an old school, used to come home every day from grade school and turn on Captain Kirk, man. It was the coolest thing in the world. But I grew up with Star Trek and I really like the concept of shields, right? So the Starship Enterprise had shields. And you would never fly into the Klingons with your shields down. In what world would you ever do that, right? So we do that all the time, every day, right now. So if you think of your immune system as shields, right, it's arguably what's the most important thing that you do for yourself every day? Defend yourself. And there's a host of stuff that wants to, like the dead thing by the side of the road, there's all kinds of stuff that wants to break that down and break it down into mush, and then there's nothing left. Well, that same stuff wants to do that to you right now. So the only thing that really defends you from that is your immune system. So how does our immune system work? Well, it really works around our eating behavior. Okay. Say, wow, that's weird, Chip. Eating behavior? Yeah, it works around our eating behavior because eating is very costly and running your immune system is very costly. So you can't really do both at the same time. You can't process nutrients and process all the junk that we eat at the same time we're trying to run an immune system. So our shields go down. And they don't go all the way down, but just conceptually, let's say they go down. So you still have an immune system even after you've eaten, but it's not as strong and powerful by a factor of 20 than it is when you're in a fasted state or 5 hours past your last meal. So this is why when you hear me talk about intermittent fasting, it's not for me to lose weight. I'm skinny. I don't really have a lot of fat on me, nor does my wife, and she talks a lot about intermittent fasting. We're talking about intermittent fasting in order to teach you how to work your immune system. Okay. And intermittent fasting is not about denial of food. So if you're going to intermittent fast, eat as much as you want. It's better if you are concerned with what you're eating, right? Eat omega-3s and eat the right stuff, but eat as much as you want. Okay. It's not about denial. It's more about moving that work that your body does in order to process and digest food into a tight window. So you only do it for a certain amount of time every day, and then you're done, and then your immune system can come back up, and now we can fly into Klingons and not worry about stuff. Okay. So, but this concept of shields is really important. Now, inside of you, if something gets inside of you, so let's say a hook-rounded pinworm or H. pylori virus somehow works its way in you, what happens? Well, inside of you, you have got a way to identify cells that are you. You literally put a name tag on them. This is a chip cell, chip cell, chip cell, chip cell. So anything that your body is making is going to have yours will have your name tag on it. Mine will have a chip name tag on it. But anyway, we'll have a name tag on those cells. Because if you think about it just logically, well, what does your immune system have to figure out? It's got to figure out cells and molecules that are you, cells and molecules that aren't you. But in that cells and molecules that aren't you, it's got to figure out, is that a bug, a pathogen, or is that a nutrient? Right. So your immune system has to figure some stuff out, and it's pretty good at doing that. But one of the strategies that bugs use sometimes is they'll rip off the name tag of your cells. And this is what's called an autoimmune disease, where basically your immune system attacks your own cells. But anyway, now is the time that we really need to be talking about immunity, right? Because we're entering this time where most of us get sick. Again, I think the why there has to do with the sun, but that is yet unproven. But we know factually that people get more sick during this time. So what can you do to boost your immune system? Well, intermittent fast, first of all. So intermittent fasting, just super important for the very reasons that I just described. Again, we want to keep our shields up for as much time during the day as we possibly can. The second most important thing generally that you can do just for your immunity is, and there's a reason for this. So let me walk you guys through this information, and then I'll tell you about where we're at right now, okay? Because this is really, really important. And this is stuff that you can control, right? So you can control when you eat, right? So again, we're not like, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock. I can't make it till noon. No way. I've got to eat. No, you don't. You can go 40 days without eating. 40 days. And if you feel like you can't, take a tablespoon of olive oil. You'll be fine. But anyway, so we can all sort of control this behavior, right? So right off the bat, what is the most important thing that I can tell you about immune health, getting ready to go into flu season and COVID season, all that? Intermittent fast, baby. Because when you're fasted, your shields are up. I deal with sick people every day. We have in our clinic that we have, we see the sickest of sick people. I mean, we see some really, really, really sick people. I never go to work in a fed state. I never fly into the Klingons with my shields down. I want my shields up when I'm around all you guys that have a lot of stuff going on with you, right? And because I don't want to get it all. And I don't. I haven't been sick in 10 years. I'm 64 years old and I'm around sick people all the time. So I have figured this out and understand how to work my immune system, as has my wife. So, we've got this figured. And again, if you ever want to know anything that I'm saying, there's so many people that say so much stuff right on the internet and on podcasts like this, and they're, preaching to you to do all this stuff. If you ever want to say, Chip, substantiate what you're saying, I want to see, peer-reviewed papers. I want to see scientific articles. Well, I've got them. I'll send them to you. I mean, I really don't go off even though it seems like I'm going off the reservation, I'm really not off the reservation that much. I am right in the middle of peer-reviewed science when I'm telling you guys this. So here's something super important that I'm getting ready to tell you now. So most important thing for immune health, intermittent fast. Second most important thing, and this is really due to our dietary situation right now, but let me walk you through this information. Then I'll tell you kind of where we're at. Okay. So you have the two most important foods. What are the two most important foods that you eat every day? Ready, go. The two most important, well, you should know this. They're essential. You have to have them. Without them, you'll die. What are they? Ready, go. They feed and fuel your endocannabinoid system naturally. What are they? Omega-3 and omega-6 fats. Some of you already know that, which is good. I want you to. I want you to be able to answer that question right off. I want a sixth grader, a fifth grader, a first grader to be able to answer that question, okay? Because those are the two most important foods that you eat. And you have to eat them in balance, okay? Why? Because they build all your frontline immune mediators, all right? And in order to work your immune system, you have to do several things. You have to inflame, you have to heal, and then you have to deflame, right? And that's the way that tissue repair works. That's the way that, if bugs are eating on you, that's kind of what you're going to do. You're going to attack them first, and that's part of your immune system too. But in order to work those processes, you need both different sides of the omega-3 and omega-6 coin. So omega-6s help us deflame. They help calm down the reactivity in our immune response. So your immune response is variable, right? So if the bug gets inside of you, is it a quick response or is it a slow response? And omega-3s would more donate a slower response, but a very healing response, right? So you might heal faster than you're getting eaten if you overconsumed omega-3s. On the other hand, omega-6s are reactionary. So they're what give our immune system that immediate reaction. And the more omega-6s we eat, the more reactive it is in the inflammatory direction. Okay, so one side is healing, deflammation. The other side is fire and inflammation and reactivity in the immune system. Okay, so when we eat these things in balance, it sets a very nice tone in our immune system where we can react, we can inflame, we can heal, and then we can deflame. And that's what you should do. If we get attacked by something, then we can attack it at a certain and appropriate level rather than over attack it and over inflame and overreact. Right now in our diet, okay, so if you just eat normally diet stuff, you're going to be eating a lot of corn, and that corn is very heavy in omega-6s. So just on average right now, we should be at 1-to-1, 1-to-4 omega-6 to omega-3. So you can think about that as a teeter-totter, right? And our teeter-totter should be pretty balanced. Right now, we're at 1 omega-3 to 40 omega-6s, okay? And so we're very omega-6 heavy in our diet right now. And what that does is it makes our immune system very reactive and very inflammatory, okay? So we overreact in the inflammatory direction. And what this does is it sets up a situation where we react so strongly, let's say to a dust allergy, that we don't have the juice and horsepower to be able to react to COVID or to be able to react to other things that might happen because we're so reactive, okay? So what fixes this? Eat more omega-3. It's literally like right now we're just cranked up as reactive as we possibly can in the reactivity direction. Over the course of 2 to 6 months, you can completely change this just by eating more omega-3, just by beginning to balance out your omega-3 and omega-6, okay? So why does this matter? Well, back to our analogy. So we're flying into the Klingons and we start getting attacked by the Klingons. All of a sudden we put up shields, but just in one direction, but super strong in that one direction. Now we got Klingons in around in us all over the place. And that's where we're at right now, right? In what world would you have to take an immunosuppressant in order to defeat a virus like COVID? Why does that make sense? You want to suppress your immune system to beat a virus? It makes no sense. But it does make sense in this world because we're so reactive to things. We can't have the juice to be able to fight off COVID, the flu, anything. So that's kind of the state that we're in right now. So again, how do you fix that? Eat more omega-3s, all right? So it's pretty dang easy to eat more omega-3s. So 2 things that are directly in your control that will help you put your shields up, help your shields be strong and very robust are number 1, intermittent fast, and number 2, eat more omega-3s. So let's talk about a few other things that could really, really help you if you're starting to get sick. So COVID-19 and other, let's say, flu viruses, they like to enter us through our respiratory system, all right? And they particularly like a neuroreceptor called ACE2, ACE2. Well, it turns out there's a very effective defense against flu and against COVID by blocking ACE2. And all this kind of came out after COVID. This was, you can even talk, I probably would get kicked off YouTube for even talking about this before COVID. But again, if you block ACE2, then that is a very effective strategy against getting COVID, or if you have it, having it spread, because that's how it moves around. And that's how it kind of goes from cell to cell, and that's how it replicates. Okay. So it needs that ACE2 neuroreceptor in order to do its business. Well, you can block it. So guess what blocks it? There's something in licorice, the root, not the whip, but it's called glyceric acid. And glyceric acid blocks ACE2. CBDa from the cannabinoid world blocks blocks ACE2. So that turns out is a very effective strategy against flu, against COVID. And we actually have a product in True Medics called Defender that uses that strategy. So we have glycosuric acid through licorice in there, and then we have CBDa in there. And that has been a very, very, very reported to be very, very effective product. We had nurses that worked in COVID wards that never got COVID. So it was that much of an effective product. So all that to say is that we know how to formulate for these, let's say, bugs, these viruses, flu-like things. And we do that very, very effectively. What you can do at home if you want to really kick up your immunity. And this is, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Zelenko, who actually died. Sadly, he was 50 something, but he ended up dying. But he came up with an immune boosting protocol during COVID. But part of that was zinc, and vitamin E was a big part of that. And ivermectin actually was a part of his protocol. So zinc is also a good way to boost up your immunity. But, if you're really looking for help in boosting your immunity, again, intermittent fasting, omega-3s, look at our Defender product. The other thing that you might want to do is look at some of our deworm products. Now, what we're finding, and this is just because we see people, all the time. So we, saw people yesterday. We saw this in the people that we see. So if you're just rocking and rolling along as a mammal, about every 6 months, you're going to be in need of a deworm. Okay. Just like our horses, our cows, our pigs, our sheep, they all need to be dewormed. And we, if you have a ranch, this, or if you have dogs or own dogs, they need to be dewormed about every 6 months or so. So we're no different. I mean, we're subjected to the same things that they are. We, get the same parasites that they do for the most part. And we certainly get the same hookworm and pinworms that they get. So that's what I see in most people, hookworm and pinworm. And the thing about hookworm and pinworm is they will beat you, right? So the fact that they've infected you, they've beaten your immune system, and they will continue to beat your immune system until you do something. So just rocking and rolling along normally, they're going to beat you. They're going to win. You are going to eventually die of a hookworm and pinworm infection. And again, that might manifest as a heart attack or renal failure or something else, but the underlying cause is going to be hookworm and pinworm. So everyone needs to deworm frequently, and we've got several really good deworming products. So we've got a deworming tablet, and then we've got a deworming liquid that's also pretty good for H. pylori. But now is the time to be thinking about this stuff because, again, as our immune systems weaken, these guys are opportunistic and they'll spread and flare and do all kinds of stuff. So I want to leave you with this last thought. Okay, if you're not feeling well, that's not normal. If you have tummy aches all the time, that's not normal. If you have headaches all the time, if your body aches all the time, if you're tired all the time, if you're not tired all the time, if you're not feeling, let's say, mostly at your best all the time, then you've got something going on. I mean, you've got some kind of infection likely, or you've got something in your environment that's dragging you down. But you've got something going on. So to illustrate this, we should kind of do this, right? So everybody's going to get sick at certain times, and we're all going to kind of have bad days and all that. But generally, we should have just little peaks and valleys. Right now, we're doing this, right? So and most of us are walking around with every time I eat, my gut hurts, or just these, I can't pee, or I pee too much, or I can't control my pee, or my stomach cramps all the time, or, I can't breathe. So a lot of us are walking around with this stuff. And what I'm saying is you don't need to. God is a perfect engineer. And what I mean by that is God built every cell inside of us perfect. That cell is always striving toward perfect function. If it breaks, if it gets damaged, if something happens, whoop, it just divides, forms a new perfect self, and that guy strives toward perfect. You're just a collection of cells. Your liver is a collection of cells. Your heart is a collection of cells. Your kidneys are a collection of cells. Your blood and blood vessels, everything in you is just a collection of cells. But those cells are always striving toward perfect. So you, as a system of cells, always striving toward perfect. So why do we age? Why do we fail? Why do we get sick? Why do we get diseased? Because that ain't striving toward perfect. There's a cause and a reason for it all. Okay. So if we can get out of our own way, if we can, begin to modify a little bit our behavior, our diet, and in some cases our thinking, wow, do we have a lot of upside? Our kids certainly have a lot of upside. And the cool thing is, it's looking like all this is going to get in mainstream science within the next couple of years, which is just great. But anyway, for your immune system, okay, number one rule, intermittent fast. Biggest thing and kindest thing that you can do for yourself to run your immune system. Number two rule, omega-3 supplement. I would recommend ours. It's based on alpha linolenic acid. You can find it at TrueMedics. It's a really good omega-3 supplement, but just find one and make sure that you're taking an omega-3 supplement, ideally ALA and not DHA, EPA. Those are fish oils and they're fine for fish. And you break ALA down into EPA, DHA, but you need to break it down. That's an important step in your function that tells your body a whole lot of stuff. So ALA, we recommend over DHA and EPA fish oils. And then for actual, if you think you're getting sick, if you're getting ready to, let's say, go to a convention, get on an airplane, be around a lot of people, certainly be around a lot of people after you've eaten, then I would suggest a product like our Defender product that you can find at TrueMedics. So anyway, hopefully that has helped you guys with some suggestions and ideas, some stuff you can do on your own. If you ever want to know more, again, just hit us up at Chip Talks Health. We'll never run out of topics because the endocannabinoid system is so vast. But if you have a particular topic you want us to focus on, then let us know that. We're starting to do guests, so have some guests on the show, so that should be fun. We have Ethan Pompeo on, and so that should be out there pretty soon. And Ethan was a really fun and cool interview. So anyway, we'll see you guys later. Talk to you later. We'll see you next week for another exciting version of Chip Talks Health. Bye.